Hi folks, Tim here, and welcome back to From 8 to 38, the Chronicles of a Young Entrepreneur. Well, today's video is about the old saying where the customer is always right. Now, I would rephrase that. So today's video title is actually, "Is the customer always right?" with a question mark. And my answer to that is a very, very solid no. The customer is not always right. And those of you who are my customers that are watching this, I'm sorry, you're not always right. But I'm going to give a couple examples why. So this year we are doing a larger installation job with a large amount of trees and shrubs and plantings and redesign and things like that. So it's been a lot of work getting this all lined up. But we got our deposit now the other day. We're ready to go with it as soon as the weather is good. Part of the entire process was going back and forth with the client about what they wanted versus what I saw for the property. With the clients that we're working for, they're not really familiar with the climate in our area, and they're not really familiar with what grows well or what doesn't grow well. So this particular piece of property, the client wanted a certain tree planted, and I knew from my experience that it didn't work really well in that area that we're developing. So I was able to approach them and say, you know, I absolutely love and respect what you're trying to do here on the property, and I so understand that you really, really want this tree as part of this whole landscape design. I understand that, and I wish we could do it for you. I'm willing to do it for you, but I really don't think it's the right choice for this particular design and in this particular area. You love this tree very much. I understand that. You love the way it looks, that it reminds you of home, things like that. So we can take that particular variety of tree, we can put it elsewhere on the property where it's a little bit more protected, and we could do something like that for you in the future. But with this design that we're doing right now, it really won't work. And by doing it that way, and by talking to them that way, and not just saying, no, it's not going to work, and things like that, because I've seen business people do that. I've seen businessmen do that, and it never ends well. So some client relations, and is the customer always right? No, they're not, is the thoughts for today. But we were able to do that with this particular client, and we went back and forth quite a bit. We were able to work out a design that I was comfortable with as far as putting my name behind on the design and on the plant materials that were picked, and something that they ended up really, really liking in the long run. There's so many different examples of, is the customer always right? Now, realistically, the customer gets what they want in the long run, whether it's from us or whether it's from somebody else. But if you know that what they're doing, what their idea is, the thing that they're hoping to put in is the wrong thing for the area, don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be a jerk about it, because if you're a jerk about it, you won't get the job. You might even lose them as a client. But if you want a successful business, don't do something that you're not comfortable with, even if it means losing out on some money. One of the things that we do is driveway resurfaces with item 4, with stone. I don't do anything with paving, but we do stone, or we patch potholes, things like that. And there are materials that are better and worse as far as what holds up better in the long run on a driveway. And there's folks that want pea gravel put on their driveways. It's something that I am not willing to do, even though it means a loss of income or a potential loss of income for us. I'm not willing to do it, and I understand very much why they like it. It's very aesthetically pleasing, but it's the wrong item to put on these driveways around here, especially when we get snow. In areas where you don't get as much snow, you could use that type of material because you're not plowing, you're not snow blowing, things like that. But when you put a material down that doesn't lock in and freeze up and lock together and bind together, you're always going to be fighting it, and they're always going to be upset about it. So it's better to inform these folks in a very nice way about what does or what does not work, and try to educate them and understand that, again, for us, they're coming from a different area. They might even be from another state. Not only are they from an area 100 miles away, like the city, they might be from a completely another state, 3,000 miles away. You don't really know. And something that works in California or Nevada or Texas or Florida does not work here in the Hudson Valley of New York. So being gentle, being cautious, do your research. Many times before we go meet with a client about what they would like done, I've done a little bit of legwork first, and I've done a little bit of research first. So they'll tell me, hey, Tim, I want you to come and go over some plans for the property. And then my next question is, okay, what are we going to go over? Well, we'd like to do some planting, but we want something that's native, or we want to resurface the driveway. We want to build a stone wall or put a patio here, things like that. So what I do before I go meet with that person is I do a little bit of research, because we were talking about hats that we wear in a different video. And I take off my accounting hat and put on the estimate hat, or the laborer hat, or whatever the case may be. But because we do so many different things, the design aspect is not always forefront in my mind. And I have to refresh some of my memory about what does work, what doesn't work, have new guidelines or bulletins basically come out about this particular plant, that tree. Plants that were being planted 20 and 30 years ago are now seen as highly invasive. So we don't want to put those in, but we want to stick with something that's native, because I know this one client really wanted to do a native pollinator friendly garden and plantings. So I went to the different websites and I did an hour's worth of research before I went to meet with them, to be able to have a good conversation of where I knew what I was talking about while I was talking with them. So that's something that's very important as far as, is the client always right? If you're well educated on the subject and you can help educate them, many times you can help them make a better decision for their property than what they may have made on their own. And if you think about that a little bit, growing up as a teen, as a young adult, many times the decisions we made were not the right ones, and we didn't want to hear what anybody else had to say. But had we listened, many things would have turned out differently in our lives, and probably for the better. Some of us learn by making mistakes. Others of us are willing to listen to the input that our mentors have. So if you're already being called onto a property to look at a job, especially if it's an existing client, the client's not always right. They have a dream for their property that you need to try your very best to make happen, but you can make some changes to it. So their overall idea, you need to make happen. But if they want to put all these plants that the deer are going to absolutely destroy, or that are not even for your zone, you know, we're in zone 5 up here, but depending on the elevation, it's a little closer, it's a little colder, and the winters are different and things like that. So the deer eat things, the deer don't eat other things. Some things don't do well in the winter, other things do well in the winter. So be educated, be cordial when you tell them no, but don't just say, no, it's not going to work. Say, I really don't think this is going to work, and here's why. And going back to earlier in the video where I discussed what our client wanted with that particular planting, I explained to them that while I absolutely love the idea you have for the property, I don't think this particular plant is the right choice for this area on the property, and here's why. And we discussed all the different reasons why, and in the end they said, wow, thank you so much for the time that you spent explaining it, and we would really like to go with the variety that you recommended rather than the one that we wanted. So what I did is I was able to find another variety that did better in that particular location and would still give them the shape and the color that they wanted. So I was able to go in, do some homework, do some research, and be able to secure a good job, and one that I will be very, very happy in the end to put my name on. I'll be very happy to have a sign out there while we're working saying Elmendorf Landscaping, or another quality job done by Elmendorf Landscaping, which is what one of our signs say. No, the customer is not always right. However, you need to be very gentle and do your homework on it. Because if you don't do your homework and you come in and just say, no, that's not going to work, and maybe they'll say, oh, well, why not? And you say, well, it just won't work. That comes off as arrogant, and I almost guarantee you won't get that job. So that's all for today, folks. Thanks for watching. Please like, please subscribe, please share.